Hi, my name is Legina Gold, and thank you for tuning into my channel. And today I want to tell, today, as you can see by the title, that I am going to be discussing the Mandela Effect. And I want to discuss my personal experience with the Mandela Effect. And a lot of people don't really know how we even came up with the term Mandela Effect. And what better way to discuss it from the beginning? Well, the beginning, personally, from my experience with Mandela Effect, is from Nelson Mandela. And most people don't know that that's where it even came from. It's because his history might have been replaced and his outcome in life might have been rewritten. And some of us still remember that past history and some of us do not. Some of us are more aware of the current history for him. And what better way to discuss mine is when me learning Nelson Mandela. So, Nelson Mandela was this man that was born in South Africa. He was this black man that was an activism for freedom and justice and rights for specifically in South Africa. Even though that wasn't part of Americans' history, it still was our outcome. It still led a way for us. And that's what I learned. And to let you guys know before I even get into the story, I will be lighting up my blunt again. You can see that I started, but I will, and I can finish. So if you guys are uncomfortable with it, then I wouldn't blame if you guys want to leave. So if you guys do, or if you guys want to light your blunt up, spark it up with me, go ahead. So when I first ever learned of Nelson Mandela, it was because of history class. I remember being like 9 or so, learning about this man and from South Africa. I learned about him just being a person that just stands for what he wanted and wasn't going to risk it all. I mean, he did risk it all, but he wasn't going to just stop and just fall and cower back. And what pulled a heartstring for me was because, and in the whole story, he died in prison. And I know if you look it up now, it would say otherwise. But personally for me, I remember him. And I remember feeling as a kid, it was like, why did we let this old man die in prison? People are just so harsh, like, come on. And me learning that 2 times, because the Mandela Effect also rerun a lot of my other histories that I've also learned too. So it's just like, wow, I'm just living in this whole world. For me personally, you can't tell me that he didn't die in prison, because I was just so so intrigued, but also just remembering like, oh, this man, even him fighting for what he wanted, he died in prison because it was an injustice. It was still racism at the end of the day. And because he held a lot of memorable and honorable place in my heart, that's, of course, I remember that. So you guys should just imagine how it felt to be like confused seeing this man face, taking a picture with Michael Jackson, Naomi Campbell, like, I think, what do you pronounce her name? Charlize Theron, if that's how you pronounce her last name. But seeing people with him, and I'm like, oh, then he been died. But me just being like, even though I'm 25, so I'm not like a elder age, so it's just not like my time frame. It just be like me being a teenager, seeing him and just like being confused. Like, I could have sworn he died, so he did die, and you guys didn't even do shit for him to be out of prison. Just imagine, I'm like, why am I seeing these celebrities and these are his friends? How did they let this man die in prison? And it was just so like baffling, because in the day I learned that he died, so I'm not thinking like, oh, this is current pictures, and he's actually still alive walking around today. And no, course, it's not my history. I didn't know the other history because I only was taught one history at the time. So, me getting older, probably around like 21 or so, 22, when I heard of the Mandela Effect, I'm like, I wonder why would they name this thing after Mandela, because isn't Mandela named after Nelson Mandela? Like, not knowing that it was because of his history and people saying that he's dead. So when I finally really just got into Mandela Effect and what it really was, and I'm like, so if it's about him, people saying that he got out of prison, I'm like, what? Huh? How did he get out of prison? How did he not die in prison? That's crazy. Like, but it would explain it, and people to this day remember when he got out of prison. And I remember talking to my dad like a few months ago, and I'm like, you never heard of the Mandela Effect? And he's like, no. And I'm like, when Nelson Mandela died in prison, he's like, and he's a Ghanaian man, so he was like, he didn't die in prison. He's saying some other shit about Cuba saving him. I'm like, Cuba. So, me knowing the Mandela Effect about this time, I'm like, well, if Cuba could go save him in that history, why didn't they save them in this history? Because in the day, I don't care what nobody else say, I remember it. I went to school and I had to learn about this guy 2 times. And me had to carry that burden or that remorsefulness for him suffering. Because in the day, he did suffer. And my alternate reality, he did. And then as you can see, in everyday scenario, some people remember like certain films being said one thing and then it's like changed now, and it's like, what's happening? Or if you see like a statue and it's changed and it's like, I don't remember it being there. Like Lady Liberty, people don't remember her being where she at currently. I do remember as a kid that they said she was somewhere different. And then when I kind of like got like 15 or 16, and I'm like, it's not where it was. It's like, it was confusing for me, just like it was confusing for me for any other effect. So me just learning about it, and I'm like, so Cuba just came into play and just saved the day, and now he's just living life, taking pictures with celebrities and just doing him as a free man. And then it's crazy because the outcome now is totally different, because if he really would have died, he would never got a divorce, or in 2013 he had his death, but I could have sworn he died in 1983, but if I'm correctly, because people don't know about time traveling or time or history being rewritten, even though we see it in everyday TV shows or things like that. It's not impossible, because I'm sitting here telling you I learned that 2 times. Like, I was confused. Like, how would I learn that he died in prison? And then if that's in a play of you saying, if you guys want to say that, oh, it's like, maybe the teacher taught you wrong, then why did 2 different teachers teach me that? Why did 2 different teachers teach me about this man? Like, who goes around teaching false history? Unless it's false history really happening. And because I don't have my lighter, I'm trying to fry my blunt. I'll be using my matches. I just don't like to breathe this shit into my face. My bad, as we was saying. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, literally, me and my dad, we was going like toe to toe. He's like, he didn't die. He got out of prison. I'm like, then why do I remember him like dying and feeling sad for this guy and just feeling like this world sucks, because in the day, like, how do you let an old man die in prison? And then now you're just saying that Cuba could come help. Cuba could have been helping the other reality. Why the fuck it didn't? So I'm just like, Or even with Hitler, people saying that his eyes and his hair is different. And I remember him being brunette and brown eyes too. Because I'm like, no offense to anybody, but I'm like, the Germans are stupid, because how the fuck you gonna let this guy talk about his ideology when he don't even fit the requirements and knowledge just like he do now, because the history been changed, which would make sense, because if I was him, I would change that shit too, because I'm like, you don't make motherfucking sense. But then again, but it doesn't explain how it happened, and it's actually a time machine called the refrigerator. And if you guys want to know more about it, it's this YouTuber / activism / like Jimmy Neutron boy genius type of pharaoh we have, and then the black community, his name is Young Pharaoh. If you want to know about it, you can also check his video out. And to confirm what he's saying about the refrigerator and time machine, is also an episode of Phineas and Ferb it's a Disney Channel TV show. It's a cartoon. It was literally on the first episode. One scene had the refrigerator and the other one dealt with time machine. And I'm like, oh yeah, the subliminals, because everything all interact with one. Because if everything has an agenda and everything has a plan, even coincidences, or even when people make those plans to have a secret agenda. So if you guys want to know more about my other Mandela effects, then go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and you'll be seeing it, because I literally just like living in a world of confusion, and just like I believe in anything else.